I've put on the blog, so that's the bit that you read afterwards. So if you think you were coming along for something and then you think, oh dear, she's giving me something else, then that's what we come along afterwards. But just to, I've only just opened this, and actually I can get online, which is rather wonderful. This isn't technology gorgeous. This is what was developed last year, and at Coventry University we are in our first year where we're running with Moodle alone. So, just to go back on what Peter had been using, we were also using extra normal in the form of Robert and Marvin. The only trouble was, towards the end of last academic year, they suddenly decided to start charging, and we decided, yeah, unfortunately.
If you're an academic institution, they'll let you have it free.
Oh, brilliant. So they've changed their mind, they have relented. Yeah. Because then what we decided to do, because these are not the, Robert and Marvin were not the default colours and things like that, and in fact one of them came out pink, and so I was going to suggest something like Robin and Marion, but it didn't quite work. So, oh, this is brilliant. So perhaps we might resurrect Robert and Marvin and Moodle, who were running last time, but I thought I'd just touch base with them, and also, as you can see that we've got here, this is our Moodle help. We've got versions of the Induction guide, more of which later. So I just thought I'd show you that. Now, here we are, fast, effective Moodle induction. Let's just get the screen the right size for here. But what I'm not going to do is to do a Prezi demonstration. In fact, this is using, anybody know who? Yes, Xerte, but not Xerte on its own. If you go and look for Xerte, you'll find something extraordinarily difficult because it's very much a developer-based thing. Look for Xerte toolkits, and then you'll see all sorts of wonderful things, and you can present your own things online and for free. There we are, commercial break over with. So, fast, effective Moodle induction. I asked somebody, I was going to do a talk about Moodle induction and put this towards Moodle Moot. What sort of title? So I said, well, as long as nobody asks me what makes it fast and effective, then I'm all right. But I got in on the title, but never mind. So let's have a look, see what's coming up next. Oh, here we are. This is how it all wonderfully links, because this title, Sputnik, Russian dwarf hamster. We're reminded that, yeah, he's that big. And, you know, if you're going to do something with images, make them cute. But if I mentioned that, I don't know if you saw on your Google searches last week that 50 years ago, the first manned space, well, the first successful manned space flight that we know happened with Yuri Gagarin taking off, doing a few laps of the Earth and then landing. And so I thought I'd take a look at some of the news items as far as that was concerned. And don't worry, we will get there with Moodle induction in the end. But what I wanted to pull out was this quote. When his ship's rockets were switched off, Gagarin became weightless, and all control of the ship was managed by radio signals sent by a computer back on Earth. And that was 50 years ago. So was that the first person who, you know, really relied on remote signals? How about that? So I thought at the time that Gagarin was brave. Now in retrospect, and if all your internet connection problems that you have, my goodness, wasn't he brave? So, I'm cheating. I've got a local Moodle on here, so it doesn't matter if I didn't have internet access. So let me just bring this one back up again. At Coventry University, as I mentioned, this is the first academic year that we're running on Moodle alone. The previous academic year, we were running on Moodle and another virtual learning environment, more WebCT. And we were moving from we moved from that. We gave members of academic staff the opportunity to say within that academic year, when in that academic year you move, it is entirely up to you. And we gave them the support by way of basic training about some of the aspects of Moodle. Now you have to remember two things, that at Coventry the learning, the courses are all modular, and there is a Moodle course that corresponds to every single module at Coventry University. And then second, the lecturers use Moodle as an enhancement, if you like, to their face-to-face teaching. So we're not talking solely online. There are some modules that are solely online, but they are in the great minority. So we're looking for ordinary teachers who are just doing that. So the sort of training I'm doing is, I want to put my PowerPoint up into Moodle, and that was sort of basically it. Now, as far as the student induction is concerned, in the year when we had both of the systems going, we had a dual book, one which flipped one way, one which flipped either way, so that we had on one side the old learning environment, on the other side the Moodle, and I tried to make them equal activities. This year, also because of financial constraints, I decided to do an economical Moodle, in which I managed to fit most of the induction onto, well, let's have a quick look. So what have we got? The old guide. This is very much, you look at a page of the guide and it's telling you which bit to click, and then you look at the induction web that you have had to log into in order to do the clicking and so on. Now, pardon?
How did you create that?
That is just a screen dump of some text from the module, from the guide. That's just a, you know,
How did you create the guide?
Word. And then I PDF'd it to make it sort of more accessible, because if you're using Word, then you've got to be careful of documents and things like that. Yep, that was created using Word. Let me just go back to, and I had, then what I did, instead of having a booklet for induction this academic year, one page was A5, and it was a sort of a summary of what to do, and you went into your Moodle module, and you, this is it, the induction module. The other 4 pages, so the whole thing, if you've got an A5 document, excuse me, picking up bits of paper, so it went like that, then it folded over and then folded over. The other 4 pages showed you how to get in. So that's the hard thing about Moodle, getting into the system. So page 5 was something like this, and apologies because it's, we've got the sizes and things like that. I don't know whether if I make it smaller. There we are, that's made it a little bit smaller. But the first bit, somebody said, oh, at Coventry you've got a Moodle hub. This is just a sort of a one for the techies, in that we have got several different schools and faculties, and each of the schools and faculties has got its own server area, and then in the centre is a hub where everybody logs in. Has its advantages and disadvantages, least of all if you as a member of staff want to produce something like quizzes using something like Respondus, because your ID is in the hub and your courses are out in a separate server, then you also have to have an ID there in order to do some publishing. So the advantages and disadvantages. The induction web, therefore, has got fewer to-do bits. It's got, the to-do bits are in yellow in the information, and these are the other bits. This is where I sort of feel inclined to stand on the chair and sort of, you know, some people have the luxury of just pointing up there, so you get the bottom quarter, 10% of what you're getting here. So I could wobble the mouse and things like that. So what I want to do in the rest of my time is just to point out some of the things that we tell the tutors and the students to be aware of. And you'll already see the orange arrow there, which is one of the be aware ofs, and then you probably, somebody in the audience will say, oh, but Moodle 2 doesn't do that, it does this. So we're looking at Moodle 1.9 here in Coventry. So 1.9. What I like about Moodle is that if only those activities on the left-hand side are being used in that particular course, then they are the only ones that are visible. Great. In other words, your diligent student will see a list of things to, well, links. You click a link, don't you, to click, and it won't come back saying there are no assessments for this module, there are no assignments for this module. I'm quoting from somewhere, if you haven't guessed. So this is one of the things I point out. We've also got announcements. And later on what we did was we created a Moodle book called Essential Module Information, and that information was for each course, Moodle course, and ran into several pages, and it was a template where the tutors could put things like, who is the tutor? What are their office hours? How do you contact the tutor? What are the basic details? Where's the module handbook? How much assessment do you have to do? Where do you have to go for retakes? And that would go under announcements. One of the things I point out to members of academic staff are the announcements. That is a special forum, and in that, if you send an announcement to your student, it will automatically go to their email. And this is a clincher, they cannot switch it off. So long as they are already looking at their university email or else have a forwarding mechanism, then the announcement should reach them. What I've also done here is, what we also automatically have in Coventry is links here to various areas, and each individual Moodle course has links to the module information and also to the reading list. And this is another one that I like to tell about members of staff, in that if they have a reading list for their, I'm going to use the word course, but actually module, but course, then all they have to do is to take it along to the library, and we have subject librarians for the different areas. Take it along to the library. It can be in the form of an Amazon shopping list. It can be on a piece of paper. It can be on a piece of vellum. They will accept it. They will put it on to the Talis database, and it will automatically be visible for their students. So we've got a Talis database, and then there's one or two other links there that they do. So, and down here, as you might have seen before, if I were to click this box here, do you all know about that? Does anybody not know about if you click that box there? Because what happens is it does catch a lot of newcomers out. Yeah. Oh, well, you didn't know. I don't know about that. I think I know. Yeah, okay then. Right, if you click on this box here, this is the ones that, yeah. And then you sort of, it's obvious if you do know, and you'd have expected it before, half a minute. Yeah. What happens is that it turns into two boxes, and you can only see that single topic because it's view only one topic. And usually, here we are, if you want to get back that. But the students are very good at making an excuses, saying, I can't see topic. You know, you tell them to go to topic something, and if it's in a face-to-face classroom where they're also doing Moodle as well, I can't see this topic. And what happens is that you say, oh, well, you've clicked that box there. Oh, no, they will swear blind that they haven't, but you know jolly well they have, because there are two boxes there. But also, another tip I would suggest is, and I am really going on to basic stuff here. It did say in the summary, I'm going to do basic stuff. So if, by way of questions at the end, you want to sort of chip in with some of your hints and tips as well, because I'm sure you miss loads. But I would always suggest for the topic summary to make it a single line, because if you don't make it a single line, you'll get the jump to, and then you'll get this, but you'll also get the additional text coming in as well for your topic summary, even if you do, a single line. On the next line, you do it in little bits of text and so on like that, so you get your topic summary. So we've got jump to, things like that. Yes, what I've got up here is I found in another wonderful thing. I mean, it's an obvious Moodle docs, because I looked up glossaries, the irony, and there is a random quotation block. I think I've seen it, today, random quotation block. and you can use that as well to do that. One or two things, I'm going straight to a staff induction web that I just use for adding for members of staff, just for demonstrating things. The reason I start off with the induction one is that it hasn't got things like turn editing on and switch roles to, and there's just a couple of things I'd like to bring you aware of. Anybody not know about Moodle directories? I've got at least one. Oh, we've got a couple of hands. You're talking now about tutors who like to show links to their PowerPoint files and their Word documents and so on. So if you put the things into files, and in actual fact at Coventry what we do is we put a limit of 2 meg onto the side of the files, the rest go into our digital repository called Curve, and that's Equella, who are also around here, they manage, I don't know how many lecturers sort of say slides 1 to 5 and slides 10 to, and put the whole lot, I don't know. But if you go into files and you create a folder, what you can do is to display the contents of that folder using Moodle's directory option. And if I turn editing on and make it all scary with all the bits and pieces showing, under Add a Resource, there is Display a Directory there. And that enables you to show the contents of a folder that at the moment is sitting in files, and the students cannot see because it is sitting in files. And of course, when you're in the student area, then what you've got is under administration. You've only got a couple of the things in there, so you haven't got that. And just one more, finally, that what I'd like to demonstrate is the use of the headings and the subheadings in labels. And don't underestimate the strength of using labels. If you've got lots of things that you would like to embed, then we talked about, Peter's talked earlier about embedding PowerPoint, embedding YouTubes and so on. You could create a website, but at the moment, let me just go into here, add a resource, insert a label, and then what I can do here is to add just some text. I like the consistency of the editor. I'm just going to grab hold of some text that I've found on my stickies, and this in fact is the blog that you'll see. Let's just do a few more. Yeah, I'll just put some headings in like that, and I'm just going to paste that in like that. And if you were pasting in from a, thank you, Word document, then you do something like that. 2009 to 2010, I'm going to mark that as a heading. I'm just going to mark it as a heading 2, because I know slightly above here, then I could mark that as heading 1, for example, and it automatically picks up the style of the scheme of your Moodle. So if you're not aware of that, save and return to course, then you get something, and I'm going to turn editing off to get rid of all the bits and pieces. So what I've done here is I've pasted in, that appears as the main heading, and this as a subheading. Your heading 1s, heading 2s, tons of text in here. And just as a final, pardon, what? The styles automatically are the same as the styles as the scheme that you have in Moodle. I have here this particular scheme, and it automatically picks up these styles. And in actual fact, if I go to, I think it's this one. Oh, it's not that one. I did have one that was open. Headings. This particular scheme has automatically, when you call it heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, and so on, it automatically picks up those headings there. And just as a final one, I'm involved in an international project to do with, which is funded by Leonardo Transfer of Innovation, and we're using Moodle as part of the communication between the different partners. And as you can see, we've got Coventry University, we've got somewhere from Germany, This is not Florida, USA, it's Florida, Spain, Ireland, Belgium, Poland, and again the UK, and we're all interacting here with the different meetings. I think I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much. Perfect timing, thank you very much. It's started to become quite an interactive session. Has anyone got any questions or something to ask our expert here? Yeah, one at the front.
What's TALIS?
What is TALIS is the question.
You know, fortunately, I had at one of my Moodle induction sessions. Shall I just?
I can hold it.
Oh, you.
Sorry.
Right, so long as I don't run around and
okay.
chase me.
I won't.
I think it's almost a generic name for that. Oh, great! I'm glad. This is what I was just about to say. There was a librarian, and somebody answered the question. Please, if you would like to.
It's a library management system. I think it's very HE, actually. You in? Ah, okay.
Well,
all right.
Yeah, at Coventry, it enables us. Yeah, I didn't actually explain the. I don't know if it's an acronym, what it stands for, unfortunately. But it is where the lecturers from Coventry can put their references, and that's how I say it is. So, yeah.
It's probably the system that the library runs the library catalogue on, and it also enables them to build reading lists, which may or may not be things that are physical things in the library, or there might be e-resources, etc.
I think yesterday, Manchester Metropolitan University have developed their system so it automatically puts a block in every unit with the reading list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Library management systems vary enormously that happen actually where I review.
What we.
Universities will have spent quite a lot of money on their library management systems.
So the discussion there was just about library management systems for the recording, but thank you for asking the question. Is there anything else anyone would like to ask Anne? That was very useful for me, Anne, because we're very new to using Moodle. We haven't made the decision whether we're going to use it or not. So as an induction, thank you very much. The question at the front.
Yes, your Moodle induction, do you normally have it in a face-to-face computer suite scenario, or do you just give them the handout and say, follow this handout and induct yourself?
So the question is about the delivery mode for induction.
At the beginning of term, we hold briefing sessions for members of staff who are involved in the induction. So it's one stage away from me, and with one or two exceptions for small groups and for people who are who come in for solely online courses but have a couple of days in Coventry. So the answer to your question is yes and no. But the briefing session is meant to echo, if you like, what members of staff would then go away with the students, in that we just don't stand up and talk to them, we give them out the leaflets, so they are following the leaflets, hopefully at that stage also picking up any slight typos at that stage, and as well as following them, then they then they can sort of pass it on, if you like, to their students.
So you give the leaflet to the staff member follows it, and then...
The students each in turn have their own leaflets given to them, yes. So there are thousands printed each year. And whether that'll change in the financial situation, I mean, I've got it down from a booklet to a single A3 sheet, then we will yet have to know.
I have a copy of your booklet, which I pinched from you last year when I was at Coventry, with the two-sided WebCT on one side and Moodle on the other. It's very interesting. Yeah.
People call it the flipping book.
The flipping book. Very good. We've got time for one more question if anyone has anything for Anne. Okay, well, I'd like you to join me in thanking all three of our presenters this afternoon.